Hello and welcome to the Startup Summit. My name is Ralph Cummins. I'm going to be doing a short presentation today on customer experience as a key growth strategy for your business. So thank you for stopping by. It's an awfully big topic to cover in a short presentation, but I'll do my best to give you a few ideas and hopefully get you excited about this concept. So bear with me a second. I'll get the presentation started here. So as I said, my name is Ralph Cummins, and I'm the president of EMM Group, coming to you live tonight or today from Richmond, Virginia. EMM Group is a boutique management consultancy. Our focus is on helping our clients develop growth strategy, deploying the best practices of marketing to do so. We work with a wide range of companies. I've listed a few rather large companies here, but we also work with a number of startups as well as mid-sized companies. And over the past few years, a big part of our practice has become customer experience strategy. And I want to be clear what I'm going to talk about today. I'm not talking about customer experience as a digital best practice. Certainly, we're all familiar with that, but rather think about customer experience as an enterprise-wide, holistic approach to creating value for your customers. So what I'd like to do today is cover three things. I'd like to tell you, give you a working definition for what I mean by holistic customer experience strategy, talk about why it matters, and then give you a few ideas on what you can do to get started delivering and building your winning experience. Now, before I cover these off, I'd like to share with a little bit about my own story and my own history with customer experience. I'm going to go back to 2014 when we were working with a rather sizable company, a performance coatings company that had just been spun off as its own company from a larger company. And we were working on a variety of projects with this company to help them put together their growth strategy as a new public company. And one day I was called into the CEO's office who had a very interesting provocation for me. And the point he made to me was about the unique nature of automobile coatings, in that they're probably the most sophisticated, specialized commodities in the world. And it was really hard to differentiate and grow when by design your products were meant to be completely interchangeable with those of your competitors. And it was an interesting provocation. And I sat there and thought about it for a minute and I said, yeah, you're right. I said, that is kind of difficult, isn't it? He's like, yeah, we spend all this time and energy to make these very sophisticated products, yet we are traded off against each other every day. And his insight that he had, he said, look, as from where I stand, he says, the best opportunity that I could see is for us to really invest in the experience we deliver for our customers as a way of differentiating ourselves as a new customer, as a new company. I couldn't help but agree with him. And on that day, we started a plan to develop what we called rather innocently the Total Customer Experience Project. And the first thing we did was went out and did a little research to validate the hypothesis. And for a company that was really a product company, this kind of research from their customers coming back to them was quite eye-opening. Essentially, we looked at all the attributes driving supplier choices and coatings, and what came back consistently from everybody what was most important were not the products themselves, but rather the way they delivered against those products, their delivery to promise, their ability to help their customers keep operations running smoothly, et cetera, et cetera. And this really got everybody excited about this idea of total customer experience. So we jumped in, we created this program, we expressed the program as follows. Total customer experience is a fundamental reorientation of our culture. Everything we do cross-functionally should focus on what customers need and how they make decisions. Now, when we started this program, I never really thought about it as customer experience because that wasn't even in my vernacular at the time. And it seemed like an obvious thing to do as the world was changing towards a more service and experiential driven world. Remember, this is 7 years ago. So we did a lot of work over the course of about 6 months to put this program together. And at the heart of the program was a journey map. Indeed, we looked at this as the whole TCE program, as we called it, as a journey to better understand the customers and what they consider to be their most important moments of truth. I know this journey map here is a bit of an eye chart, and I don't have it up here for any particular reason other than to make the point that everything we did began with this fundamental understanding of the customer and the journey they wanted to have. And our quest was to uncover the moments of truth that really mattered to the customers no matter whether it was before they got engaged with our client or after they purchased for them or after they had already used the product in their factories. A lot of great things came out of this project, but one of the most remarkable results was in the very first pilot we did, where we went in and worked with a key segment of this client's business. And the overall goal here was to build on the experience they had already and drive a much more differentiation and value in the business. They had a good sales relationship. They had good products and services. One of the things they knew was a little bit of a problem was the way that they delivered to their customers was a bit of a one-size-fits-all approach to delivery and after-sales service and support. And when we got in there and we started talking to the customers, right off the bat, we discovered that a significant number of customers said that they would pay a premium for slightly differentiated services. In fact, what they wanted was guaranteed early delivery and a bit of a customized service experience. Not a huge leap for our customer to deliver this, but a big benefit to the customer. And we asked them why this hadn't been done already. The reply was, well, nobody's ever asked. And so as a result of this, our client put together a program that resulted in capturing a significant price premium from about 25% of their customers without making a big change to their existing operations. And it was a really remarkable moment for me. Looking back at it, it seems so obvious and simple, but it's pretty easy in the course of doing what we're doing to think everything that we know what the customer wants and we know how to deliver, when indeed we may be missing many opportunities, not only to satisfy them, but to deliver differential value. So that was kind of the beginning of my own journey towards customer experience. And since then, we've gone on to do many projects in this category. And I just want to share you a few thoughts on the outcome of that. As I mentioned, what it is, why it matters, and maybe talk about a little bit about how you can begin your journey to a winning experience, even if you're a startup company. And honestly, it doesn't matter whether you have one customer, 1,000 customers, or 100,000 customers. I think this is something you can do if you have the willpower. So first off, when we say experience strategy, what do we mean? We came up with this definition. An experience strategy is a collection of activities that your organization will choose to undertake. That's important. Like any strategy, an experience strategy is a set of choices. And hopefully that these choices will deliver a series of customer interactions that are very positive. And then when taken as a whole, they will constitute your complete offering. So not just the products and services you sell, but everything you do as part of that offering: marketing, sales, products, services, relationships, etc., that in some way, shape, or form is meaningful to them and unique and distinct from the competition, and hopefully will make your customers happy at every touch. And a lot of people laugh when I say, well, what do you mean makes customers happy? Well, if you made everybody happy, that can't be a bad outcome. So you can change the word there to fit your own needs. But we think it's, when you think about a holistic experience strategy, taking satisfaction to the next level, seeing humans as humans and making them happy should be the end point. What do we think about when we say holistic and unified? Well, what we mean by this is, first off, you can't do customer experience work without putting the customer front and center. So the whole thing has to be driven from their perspective with an eye on what would be the ideal journey. You may never reach the ideal journey for the customer and deliver the ideal experience against that journey, but if you don't know what the journey is, you'll never get there. We have to aspire to be more seamless and more consistent in our delivery. A startup company or a smaller company might have a better chance because maybe you don't have as many bad habits or as many functional silos that get in the way. But it's not easy in a busy, competitive world to deliver kind of a consistent, seamless experience across all the different people in your organization or the different parts of your organization that might touch the customer. So it can be difficult. It has to be integrated. This is a company-wide enterprise. It's not marketing's job. It's not sales' job. It's everybody's job. And everybody has to be on the same page when it comes to thinking about how do we deliver a seamless experience. Anybody that wants to do experience strategy, the only measure really is in terms of customer outcomes. And when you do that, you're probably going to benefit from that. But because, again, it's the customer journey that you're trying to create the experience for, it has to be measured in their outcomes. And this might be new and different. Even if you're a new company, you may not have thought a lot about this, and you may go to make some suggestions on how you can create a better experience. And people may think, well, why are we doing this? Isn't all we have to do is just sell the products and provide a bit of service? So this may be, to some people, may seem a bit strange. To some of you, it may be old hat. You may be in a digital company whose very meaning is to try to create a better experience or new experience. So I don't know how relevant this is to everybody, but I think everybody can aspire to be more transparently and deliberate about creating a great experience. So why does it matter? I think we all understand that the world we live in continues to evolve and change in a very dynamic way. You know, we no longer talk about digital versus non-digital. It's a post-digital world, and many of us are still chasing to catch up to it. And when you think about the pandemic, it's going to be really interesting to see what changes continue and how they accelerate. But just consider these bits of information. And what I want to focus on is not why the experience matters so much now than maybe it did 5 years ago or 10 or even certainly 20 years ago, but just the fact that it really does. Here's a recent study on the consumer experience around the world, looking at a bunch of major categories. And in every single category, from airlines down to media, there is a gap between the importance people attach to the experience they have in this category and the current level of satisfaction. And all that says to us is that consumer expectations are probably outstripping our ability to meet them. And it creates lots and lots of opportunity, but you won't seize this opportunity naturally. You have to think about how do I operate in this marketplace, and how do I identify the places where I can deliver a better experience. And if you're in the B2B world, this opportunity is even more profound. There's a study that's been repeated a couple times where they look at major B2B buyers and as well as the sellers for those very same buyers, and they ask them about their level of satisfaction with the experience that's being delivered. 8% of the buyers say that they're getting a superior experience. 80% of the suppliers think they're delivering a superior experience. That's a huge gap and a big opportunity to close that gap and differentiate your company with better experience. So that's why we say now, you know, we used to always talk about brand and business strategy, but we now think about experience strategy as the third leg on that stool. And that's why we say experience is everything. In this very fragmented, fast-following, omni-channel world we live in, the experience is as important as the product and the service, the price of the brand. And indeed, our own research shows that better experience equals better price and loyalty. We see up to 16% price premiums being paid in many marketplaces by consumers. And on the B2B side, even greater, 25 to 40% of the customers in most of the studies we've done will say they would pay more. And conversely, and this was particularly true in consumer markets, you get punished so quick for bad experience because the switching costs are so low. So it's a really big deal that we should really keep keeping an eye on. And it's not easy. Let's face it. You know, some people are still transforming into the digital world, and we live in a post-digital world where people don't even differentiate between, you know, the real world, the digital world, and that makes it very difficult to get it right across every touch point with the customer. The other thing is, particularly if your company's a little more mature, is silos tend to create breaks in the experience, and customers just don't care about that. It's not a good excuse. And the other thing is, a lot of people kind of overshoot the target. When you go talk to consumers and customers, most people want the basics: friendly service, prompt service, easy responses, easy access to the right information. And we often find ourselves trying to do very sophisticated, higher level activities around the experience without stopping to think, did I get the basics right first? There's a big emphasis on using technology to our advantage. Nothing wrong with that, but you can't automate your way to a great experience. The vast majority of customers and consumers believe that technology exists to allow them to better connect to your smart humans. So engaged employees are always going to be the cornerstone of a great experience. And finally, you know, you say tactical solutions, the noise before the defeat. A lot of people are taking an ad hoc approach to the experience strategy, recognizing they've got issues, sort of trying to fill the holes in the dike. But to get it right, and it's particularly a good opportunity for startup, You got to step back and try to take it on holistically and understand where your starting point is, and just be very methodical, very transparent about over time developing a very deliberate strategy to deliver an experience that you can measure and feel great about. So I'll talk a little bit about your journey towards a winning experience. Developing and delivering an experience strategy can be very complex. This is our experience strategy development framework. We have 3 phases of development: understanding the current journey, what is the roles of experience strategy for in your business? Do you have the business alignment, the resources and planning to do this? Who are the customer segments and personas that are going to be involved? And then developing the initial hypothesis around the customer journey that you want to interact with your experience. In the second phase of the work, you define the ideal state experience. That includes validation with your customers, which is something a lot of startups can do. It's a little easier to talk to your customers when you're small than when you're huge. Getting the validation that you understand the journey back, and then going into the analysis to understand what does and does not matter to your customers, and where are the real opportunities, the real moments of truth where you can make a difference. And then you can go into the ideation and strategy portion where you come up with solutions, develop the initiatives against them, and then build a roadmap, because it's going to take some time to deliver that experience and measure it. So that's the framework. You can make this very complex, you can make it very simple, but no matter what you do, it all starts with understanding the customer journey. So the journey map, which is like one of the most simple but powerful tools in the world, is the first step. And anybody can use a journey map. That's what I love about it. We can have a giant team in a big company, and we can spend 6 months doing journey maps across the segments. Or you as a business owner can get your team together, and you can get on a whiteboard, and you can take a first shot at defining that journey and analyzing that journey, and then you can build from there. And just by doing that, you're going to start to create the understanding and awareness of what we need to do to develop a great customer experience. Journey maps come in all shapes and sizes. This is a very complex journey map done with a lot of research and data. Here's an influencer journey map. Not particularly concerned about what the template or format of the journey map is. It's more doing the journey mapping work with your team and use it as an ongoing tool to drive this strategy that counts. Here's another journey map. Here's a data-driven journey map. Again, they come in all shapes and sizes, but here's what matters. You can pull down a journey map template off the internet. You can make up your own. It starts with defining the phases of a customer's journey towards you as a partner. So it begins before they know you, and then somehow they know you. They evaluate whether they want to do business with you. They buy from you, and then hopefully they repeat and become a valuable and long-term customer for you. But you got to start with understanding the customer segment you're working with. And then you need to define the journey from their perspective. This is the hardest thing to do. We often will turn around and start looking at the customer journey from our perspective and what we want to do in the journey versus understanding what they do. That's why it's kind of hard to do without the customer's input. You have to also consider the other influencers in the journey for the customer, because there are people in the ecosystem and the value chain that may be part of that journey that you also have to influence. And then once you've actually done a good job of defining what the journey is, what are the key touch points that customers consider as they move through that journey? What are the decisions they have to make? And that leads you down to those moments of truth. And when I say a moment of truth, what I mean is in any buying process, whether it's consumers online or B2B customers in a long sales cycle, what we're talking about is where are the decisions they're going to make that are either going to increase or decrease your chances of winning. And that's where you need to learn to be able to intercede and to deliver a better experience. And once you understand those moments of truth, you can begin to assess the gap between where you are and where the customer wants to be. And you can begin to design a strategy and design programs that will allow you to drive customer experience, not just as a way of delivering service, but as a way of differentiating your business and creating real value for your customers. As we learned with our performance coatings customers 7 years ago, there is some serious value in this notion of customer experience. You just have to do the work to go look for it. So again, from my perspective, the real challenge in doing this kind of work, it's not the demands of the customer, the consumer, or the complexity. It's not the limitations on resource. I mean, after all, even if you're a startup, you're creating some type of experience. And in fact, it's probably easier to do it when you're a startup. Um, but it's an active recognition to recognize that if your experience is simply the after effect of selling and doing the minimum necessary or what you think you're obligated to do to service the business, you're not going to have a great experience. You have to start thinking about it as its own entity, as something that you're going to be very deliberate about, and you're going to take from the customer's perspective, and you're going to learn, and you're going to go through your own journey towards creating a great customer experience and hopefully creating superior value both for your customers and for your company. So thank you very much for listening today. I hope to see you in the chat after the session, and you can always reach out to me via email. I'm very happy to speak with you more or to share any ideas or discuss anything you might want to. Thanks so much and enjoy the Startup Summit.